Okay, so welcome to today's next level session. We do these Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and we post the replays inside of the next level members area. And some of them, about half of them, end up in our YouTube playlist at insiderealestate.com/webinars. So you can see last week's stuff right here. And today we have, hit the record button. Today we have Kelly Bojarski from our training team here. And Kelly, on Thursday, you mentioned toward the end of the webinar, you mentioned some stuff about QR codes, and we said, hey, let's expand upon this, right? So that's what we're going to do.
I did. And Annalisa popped on. Hi, Annalisa. Annalisa and I did some brainstorming together, so I know that the content's pretty good. Yeah, we had fun doing this one, didn't we, Annalisa?
I'd say it's like super good. Not pretty good, but super good.
You think so? I think
do.
It's pretty fun too.
Yeah.
So we can all drive the boat today, but Ryan is going to be the captain in charge.
I'm going to sit in the back with my beverage. I'll watch YouTube drive.
You two drive. I'll move the mouse. So go.
Okay. All right. So I really had a lot of fun with this because I don't know if anybody's attended any of my live general sessions. I do normally the general sessions for the Agent Success Plan and a few specialized trainings here and there. And but I'm also a real estate agent, and I love the tools in KV Core because I feel like the lead generation tools are so much fun, especially if you want to start getting creative. And for me, I tend to do things that I get really passionate about. And so my kick lately has been these QR codes. You'll hear me talk regularly about text codes, but I've kind of shifted over to these QR codes because I'm finding that there's a lot more fun things you can do with them. And anytime that you can drive traffic back to your website and do it in a fun and creative way, I think that you're going to get a better response. Would you agree, Ryan and Annalisa? Would you say that if it's the more unique it is and the more kind of out of the box, people tend to gravitate to that stuff?
For sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, in marketing, the general rule is like the engagement level of getting someone to play with the idea of whatever it is you're representing or trying to purvey. When they reach the level of play, that's the highest level of engagement you can get with someone.
Exactly.
When you get them back to that childhood like excitement, like, ooh, this is kind of cool, I'm going to check this out, or what's this neat thing, that is a high level of engagement that creates a good memory. So I'd say it's very effective.
I do too. And so these QR codes kind of satisfy that itch for me right now. So honestly, before I started to do this, I didn't even know what QR stood for. I had to look it up. So it stands for Quick Response Code. And I learned a whole history lesson about it. And they originally stem from those barcodes that you used to see. People use them all the time still. They're just a horizontal and vertical and just a different shaped barcode. That's all it is. But it's designed to provide a quick response. And it started back in the automotive industry. They used to use them as a way to track their inventory. That's where it came from. Barcodes and QR codes came from that. But today, it seems like everybody's using a QR code. So when we say who uses these things, everybody does. It's a great way to really introduce mobile marketing. And more than half the people in the entire world have a smartphone. And that's all you need to use to be able to capture a quick code. I mean, I just pulled up my phone the other day and I was checking something. I just opened a new one, and I was checking a couple of QR codes, and all you have to do is scan your camera over it. You don't even have to have the app downloaded for QR codes anymore if you've got a smartphone. Most of the time it's built into your camera. So it's kind of a fun, safe, and contactless way to provide users information. And what a lot of companies are recognizing is that, people want transparency now more than ever. And so if you can provide information quickly with full transparency, with, contact information with or detailed information with easier use for them, they're more likely to create that brand identity that you're looking for. So everybody's using QR codes these days, and especially since the pandemic. I guarantee you there's not a restaurant in town you can go to these days where you sit down that you don't have the opportunity to scan a QR code for that menu.
On every table, on the door, on a glass, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. So what they do, if you think about it this way, it's really a funnel. We talk about growth systems and click funnels and things like this. This is another funnel. And what it does is it takes your leads from the real world and it moves them into the digital world. That's what we want to do. We want to find a fun, creative new way to get them over to your website.
And Oops,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I just want to say we've got Eric Haas. Hello, Eric. He's on our YouTube channel. He's like, hey, I'm actually using these right now on my door knocking flyers. And it takes people right to a detailed video market update. So that ties right into what we're talking about. Eric knows.
Yeah, no, I think that they
Yep.
work. And the more innovative and different ways that you can use to be creative to use them, the more likely you'll get people to engage.
Mhm.
So they're flexible. Now, the benefits of showing the benefits of subscribing using that opt-in QR code, it can definitely, if you're doing it right, it can reduce the mental barriers that prevent people from sharing their phone numbers, because that's what you're getting when they scan and they go to your QR code, you're capturing them as a phone lead. Okay, so you want to be able to do that or provide them information depending on how you have that QR code set up. So, and they don't overload people with just a big, huge gobbledygook session of text. You know, they're not getting that wall of text sent to them like they do in an email. I mean, nobody likes opening up email anymore because of all that just random stuff that populates in there. It's too much stuff. So it helps reduce the overhead costs. QR codes are cheaper because you're going green. It doesn't cost hardly anything. You know, you're already doing marketing materials, and instead of having to print out a 6-page brochure, print a 1-page tabletop with a QR code on it and have it linked to a PDF that has that information. So you're doing some good stuff for the environment as well. We do have a couple of QR codes that are built right into KV Core, so it's worth mentioning. We've got QR codes available in the Web and IDX section right here for your website. It's in the embed section, and you've got a QR code that you can just download that one. You right click on it, copy it, paste it, whatever you want to do, save it as an image, put it in your marketing materials, and it drives traffic right to the front of your website. Now, in my opinion, this is my opinion only, unless you have a strategic way, something that's really unique about doing that, sending them right to the front of your website is not nearly as much fun as sending them to someplace specific. So use the listing QR code for each individual listing that you have, because there's a QR code built into every single one of them. So you can create your own QR code right there. If you pop into the listing section, Ryan, of KV Core, and you go right into any listing, just grab any listing at all. If you go over to the upper right corner where it says more actions, you can generate a QR code there as well. So every one of, all of your listings, I mean, there's a sign at the top of our, I put it as just right on a for sale sign, that first photo on our document today. And I was thinking about this. I thought, you know what? Next time I go order some signs, because signs are getting cheaper and cheaper. I don't know about you, but I use like Build a Sign or Signs on the Cheap, something like that. And I can get a sign created for like $20. I think my next for sale sign, the only thing I'm going to put on there is for sale, put my broker information at the bottom of it. I'm going to do a big fat QR code right in the middle of that for sale sign with the QR. So anybody driving by, that's going to be what they see. And in order to get, they're not going to get my phone number. They're not going to get anything. I'm just going to put a QR code there. Just do a little testing and see how that works. Because I got a land listing coming up, and the people that are driving by that, they're probably going to stop and take a peek at the land and that. So I thought I'm going to test that out. I'll let you guys know how that works. So when you're using a QR code, think of how you can use it to be creative. So Ryan, I popped in a landing page in the chat box. If we want to use that as kind of a test, if you want to scroll down just a smidge, or if you want to grab the landing page
and
that we want to use. Go
Before
ahead,
you jump into
Leslie.
that, there was a great question from Thomas Munderloh. Hey, Thomas. So he's asking, are there any issues like with sizing? Is there like an optimal size for a QR code? And I think generally the minimum size that I'm reading here is about 8/10 of an inch by 8/10 of an inch. So it can be small, it can be on a billboard, as long as your camera can capture that image of the QR code on its screen by zooming in or zooming out. Any smartphone now, you should be able to just open up your camera and it'll open up the QR code, or you might have to tap a link, but it'll open up the information. So I haven't seen anything on optimal sizing, but I'm going to look around while we're on the course here too.
And that's really a good segue into some of the tips. Whatever QR code you are using, test it. Test the code. Always test it to make sure it actually works, because you want to, if it doesn't scan correctly, you've just wasted all this time, energy, and effort. So you want to make sure that you're testing it.
And basically it says you need to make sure it is a high quality image so your pixels don't become blurred. So,
Mhm,
if it becomes looking like an Escher, it's too
mhm.
big. You just gotta bring it down a little bit so you can read it.
Yeah. And think about where you're gonna use this. Whatever web page you point it to, make sure it's mobily optimized, because most people that are using these QR codes, they're using it from their phone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
if you're
Thomas,
sending them to something that's not mobily enhanced, it's going to not be a great user experience.
yeah, it's a really good point. Thomas is saying, they haven't fit in some of the template photos. You can resize the QR code. So
Yeah.
it's
And
just
I've
that
got
you
a
don't.
link for a great resizer I'll drop to everybody.
And if you're downloading it and saving it as an image, whether it's PNG or JPEG, there's plenty of resources out there to resize. Even if you just did it in Canva, you can resize them in there. I know you can do it there as well. Just make them bigger or smaller. I think what it really comes down to is the scannability of it, is whether it scans or not. And just as a side note, there's a little tip in here, just in case, have the URL code available. So if it's on a print material and you've got a QR code and if it's tied to a web page, you might want to just put the URL code in there as well, or use the shortened version of it or something. So worst case scenario, somebody can get to that web page if it doesn't scan. So just a little FYI tip. There's a couple kinds of QR codes. There's static ones and there's dynamic ones. Okay, so when you're using a static one, that means that you've hard coded and tied it to that QR code forever, for now, and the rest of all eternity, and you can't change it. Okay, so that's why I'm thinking if I do a QR code for my next land listing, I'm just going to go buy a sign for that one listing. That's it. When it's done, I'm probably going to have to toss it. But if you use a QR code that's dynamic, you can actually invest in some print materials and use it over and over again. And so I did a little research on a couple of QR generating platforms out there that, there's all sorts of resources, believe it or not, just designated QR codes. And so we put a couple of them in the resources section as well. But you can get dynamic ones, which means that you can use the same QR, the image, and then just change the link out as you need to, or change whatever the content is, because there's different types of QR codes as well. Who knew this? Annalisa and I discovered all sorts of things that you can use QR codes for. What did we find out, Annalisa? We found out you can use them in podcasts for MP3 audios.
Right. So you could attach it to a podcast, or maybe, like I was thinking, whenever you do your Zoom videos or videos wherever, for your smart campaigns or for your custom pages or blogs, on Zoom at least you can, and I think, is it what do you use for your
I use
Snagit?
Camtasia.
That's it.
I use Screencast-O-Matic or Camtasia.
So, but you also get a file of just audio with that. So if you look at like your key points that you want to speak to, you'll have your video that you can use everywhere else, but you can also use that audio file and build a playlist for something specific and have that available with a QR code. So you can really diversify one effort into different elements.
I'll tell you what they did over at the school where I live. I live right behind the school, and so I got a postcard from the school, and it was, it's almost back to school time, and your child's teacher is, and this was a postcard from the school. Scan this QR code to get a message from your teacher. And it was such a clever little thing. It was a cute little postcard, just had a quick little message on the back, and it was mostly QR code. And when you scanned it, it took you to an MP3 file, and it was a teacher introducing herself. Hi, this is Mrs. Smith. I'll be your third grade teacher, and I'm super excited to see you. Back to school starts on Tuesday, whatever it is. I mean, imagine the possibilities of putting something like that on a postcard. It actually creates an audible for you. So you could take your postcards to a totally different level. You could create that audio format and put it in a QR code. You can actually tie them to PDFs. You could redirect it to PDF. There's some QR code generators out there that allow you to send text message responses. So if you wanted to have a text message response sent out, you can do that. But, even if you're just doing something real basic where you're sending a link, you could do something as easy as tying it to a landing page that you've done. So you could use a QR code. And Ryan, if you want to just do a quick share of that, you don't even really need to do anything more than, I've already created this one. This was just a basic landing page to offer up this new property as a listing. But if you click at I'm in Chrome, and if you click at the end of the landing page, if you just go to the end of the URL string in the address bar and just click on it, see over to the right, right in the middle between next to the star, look what happens. Chrome creates QR codes for you for every website
Little
you're on.
dinosaur.
A little dinosaur, you could use that. So you can download that and use it for your landing page. You don't even have to go sign up for something. You could use that one.
Yeah,
So
it's really
you,
good to know.
yeah, that's a nice little tip, huh? You can do that for any type of landing page and then, drop that in. I think it's a PNG, comes in as a PNG format, and then you can, there you go. You can add that to your whatever, alternative digital or what do we call that? Digital to real world or real world to digital marketing that you're doing. So we were thinking of some fun things that you could do, and I'd love to hear what you guys think too, and get any ideas. You get your creative juices going. But I mean, how about what if you were to put them in your open house? Have just some QR codes scattered around on tabletops, and have those QR codes link out to just offerings of what kind of faucets in the kitchen, or what kind of countertop is this, with a link to the manufacturer. Or, I mean, you could give all sorts of additional resources to really enhance those in-person tours. And people are comfortable using that kind of stuff. They go around and scan things. Have you ever been to a museum lately? There's QR codes on all those pieces of artwork that give you more information about the artist. Do you know where I saw a QR code online? I saw one on a headstone. They're putting QR codes on headstones so that you can learn more about the family and the history of that family.
Oh, wow. That's actually pretty cool.
It's actually pretty, I mean, it is. So
Yeah,
they're
that's neat.
being used everywhere. So tell us about the scavenger hunts, Annalisa, because I think that one's pretty cool.
Well, before I jump into that, I know Eric has added some good information here, because he's like, I do these with my landing pages. I do these with my QR code on a sign writer. I use these all over the place for open houses. So I think really the sky is the limit, and your only limit is maybe the imagination of where you could put it, because basically, I mean, you could slap this bad boy on anything. Mm-hmm. Now, when I was thinking about scavenger hunts, is maybe, when you have someone that you sell a house to locally, maybe you have a scavenger hunt around the community where you've worked it out to where your first QR codes you read it on this postcard, welcome to the neighborhood, scan this QR code, take it to the coffee shop and get a free cup of coffee this morning. Mm-hmm. Then their next step is to scan the next code. And maybe that leads them to the hardware store where they get a free bucket full of cleaning supplies. These are things that you could work out locally, but you only, pay the local business for what somebody takes advantage of, right? Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't be out anything unless somebody put, effort into it. And then you might even be able to work out bartering on, advertising space on their website versus yours. You're building community goodwill and awareness of where things are in the community to go to their local hardware store, go to the local coffee shop, try this out. What about this little boutique, that kind of thing. So I think, if you think what would be the word, but globally, but amongst your community, there are a ton of opportunities to partner with people who are small business owners like all of you, who want to make a difference in their community.
I was even, when you think about the old days in the welcome wagon, when people would roll up with the welcome wagon, or you had a neighbor bring over a basket of muffins and say, welcome to the neighborhood, usually used to get those coupon books, and still sometimes do,
right.
Here's a list of local restaurants, come and enjoy a cup of coffee for free, whatever. You could make this a really fun event and say, look, I put together a list of 3 of my favorite places in the neighborhood, and I'm going to give you 3 different clues to go find them, and it's going to help you learn the neighborhood. And you could post those QR codes in 3 different spots. Geocaching, we talked about geocaching.
Yes, geocaching
even
would
just
be a lot
putting
of
it
fun.
on the back of a little rock. People are, I have one of those little free libraries out in front of my house, and people are constantly putting those little geocaching rocks out in front of my library, and they're putting little messages on them. And I thought, I could slap a QR code on one of those and then drop it on my neighbor's door. And if they scan it, you could just say, welcome to the neighborhood, and they scan that QR code. What if they got a little message from me, or a coupon for a free cup of coffee or a free pizza or something like that? How fun would that be?
And, I was thinking further on this vein last night, because I know, when you live in a coastal town, or maybe you've got a place that has sandy beaches or around lakes or rivers, there is the possibility of some people leaving trash behind because they're not packing it out. Well, I've actually seen local hotels, local restaurants have little buckets at their place of business saying, if you go out and you fill this little bucket or bag full of garbage and bring it back, you get an appetizer. you get a coffee, you get a lunch. So you could sponsor these buckets with that hotel or motel or business. And, it also contributes volunteer hours to your community. So there's like different ways you can work this information in and build your community reputation and your business reputation at the same time.
It's all about providing, give back to your community when it comes to things like that, and just being kind of fun and creative. Because again, you're looking to create an attraction here. People, if you just put it on something and expect somebody to do it, they're probably not.
Well, they'll be like cats. Nope, I'm going to put it on the floor.
Exactly. I'm not. But you could do all sorts of things. You could sponsor a pet event. You could anywhere that you can do a sponsor by, add a QR code to it. We talked about Dogtoberfest. Oktoberfest is coming. I bought, I think I've got like 2,000 of them in my garage right now, of those disposable dog bowls. They're pet bowls that you can take on the go. And I am in the midst of labeling every single one of those with a QR code with my information on it, and maybe a link to, details about Dogtoberfest, where they can get a free dog wash. And there's actually a groomer that I'm partnering with that is going to give them a coupon. So
what were you going to say, Ryan?
A good one for that would be to link out to a landing page that offers a list of pet-friendly condo complexes or something. But yeah,
dog parks or fenced.
Homes near dog parks. So you could do a map-based list of properties near dog parks.
Yeah. And exactly. I know like Dogtoberfest here, like in Portland, is huge. It helped a big local emergency vet sponsors it. And basically you go out and you get in line with your dog, and then you walk up and they do like 10 dogs at a time in these little stations. You get your dog washed and away you go. But it's all for a good charity to help support that hospital. So I think if you look at it from that benefactor point of view and how popular these things can be, that's a really great way to associate yourself. Like, look, these are man's best friend. These are like your kids. Let's get them washed. Let's get them a fluff and spin. Let's get Fluffy a yard, that kind of thing.
Well, and how many of you have even thought of just updating things like your Twitter, your Facebook timeline cover photo, the background on your YouTube channel? Because you can update those cover photos on all those profiles, YouTube, Facebook, and you could add a QR code to that, because, maybe you are on your desktop and you see this QR code, you could scan it for a link of properties. I mean, again, it's unique. It's a creative way to get them on your.
I did that for years with a business page, and it was interesting because if you're running a lot of ads to a business page, the picture in the page right here does show up with the ad. So, so it was a really cool idea.
And I think you could also do the same thing when you're looking at your background images that you might be using on your website. So, those are 1,600 by 500 or something. I can't remember the exact dimensions. 720, yeah. 720. But you could create those static images if you don't have a video playing, and you could pop a QR code on it for your specific areas that you service. So, you could have to see more homes in this area and pop a little QR code at the bottom corner, and people could scan it from their phone and go look at that if they want to go mobile. So there's different options to share that information.
Yeah.
I'm just swapping out my KV Core profile photo for one with a KV Core.
Oh, there you go.
With a QR code, perfect.
And now it's going to go out on all sorts of stuff. That's cool. There you go.
I would expect nothing less, sir.
There you go. I think that's cool. But just those cover photos, basic stuff like that. Put it on your business card. I mean, you could have just a QR code on one side with a list of all the service areas that you market to, with a list of ongoing open houses or, homes, average price per home, and just have it link out to that. Don't just send them back to your website. That's not where you want to send them. Send them to something interesting.
Yes.
So I actually put a video in the, in prep for this in the group. My opinion would be for all that stuff is to drive it to a very simple landing page or something where the information can be collected. So you want to make
that's why I did that landing page one over there. So if you wanted to use that simple landing page that I did, either create your own QR code or go into the QR code generators using QR code generator, or I did pull up what was it? It was
QR Tiger.
QR Tiger, Ryan actually has a Zapier connection or an API with Zapier. So you can use your Zapier to drill down on that, because the other kind of QR code, that dynamic one, you can get some analytics from it. You can You can track the number of scans. You can track the information. So there is some information in there that you might want to have outside of just a static one. There's other companies out there that do things like that. If you run an email newsletter, maybe use a QR code to direct them to a landing page that opts them into signing up for your newsletter. Maybe it adds them to a smart campaign that adds them to your newsletter campaign. That's a great way to build your newsletter pipeline. Simple things, billboards, grocery cart ads. I love the temporary tattoo. I put a little link in there where you can go and have temporary tattoos made, park bench ads.
This I am doing 1,000%. Like I'm so glad. Thank you for this link, because now my life has changed forever.
This is a game changer for you.
Oh my goodness! Like, I'm coming home.
Can you hear it?
I want to troll my wife. Like this is gonna be awesome.
I'll tell you right now.
Michelle, I'm so sorry.
I did, and you can upload your own pictures there, so you can do your own stuff. I got a temporary tattoo. There's another one called Ink Spot, and I use the tattoos from Ink Spot too. And I like those because they last for about 2.5 weeks. They're almost like henna tattoos, and so I'm trying out a few models before I go get a new tattoo.
Now, instead of like the temporary tattoo on the inside of your arm, like going out at night, you're going to have your temporary tattoo from looking at the house. That is that is adulthood right there.
And so we added some fun ones here. I love this one, Ryan. Is that yours?
Well, it's the one I got last week, and I wish I would have known about the temporary tattoo one, because this was painful.
Yeah, and it's glow in the dark too, right? You really went in all in.
Yeah, and the arrows, the shading, the artist, when he was shading in those arrows, it was really painful. So now that
I know when you turn, they look like they're moving. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Oh, you need to do a quick video of that. I want to see what it looks like in motion. That's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. So we put some resources in there for how to generate some QR codes. And believe it or not, they're getting really fancy. So if you want to check out just that one on even just QR code Tiger, you can change the colors. You can add your brand right in the middle of it. You can add, so you can really make them decked out. But up at the top, you can see there where you can create those dynamic QR codes. There's MP3. There's ones that give you the connections to Wi-Fi, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest. Those are QR codes you can create that direct them back to your social media sites. But most of the time, you're probably just going to do a simple one that connects to a URL. Yeah. And or a PDF file or something like that. I'm a firm believer of taking them back to your website. So here's what I was thinking. And Annalisa, I know that you like to do those landing pages that chain link together. What if you did a QR code that took them to one landing page, and then you chain linked them from there and did something fun that way?
Right. Well, and that could be your scavenger hunt too. It could be so many things.
Could be so many things. You could do a landing page that takes you to another landing page that gives you the next clue that takes you to another landing page that maybe gives you a clue to an actual location where there's another QR code, and it starts all over again. So have a lot of fun with this. I know I'm going to. I'm really gonna. And then maybe the final QR code is an MP3 file of you just connecting with them on a personal level. And you run. I saw one. There's this guy in our area, and he takes kids around on Pokemon scavenger hunts, and he takes them on the back of his tractor, and he just drives them around and takes them on Pokemon hunts so they can take their, it's like 5 or 6 kids. And I thought, well, what a fun place to go. And when you get to a certain area, maybe have a different QR code where the kids can scan that too. All the kids are used to using Pokemon Go. So look at the different ways you can do it. That one up at the top there, that one right there, those are actually drones. The one underneath.
Oh, the ones in Japan.
Those are 1,500 drones that they put together in Japan that when they collectively formed together created a QR code.
The future's here, guys.
That's right. Even if you were just to take it and put it on the back of your car, a lot of people don't want to put their information, their cell phone, things like that. Just put a QR code on there. Have it wrapped.
It's just important. Yeah. Have the call to action. So see every deal, see great real estate deals in area. Scan code. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun things in here. Why would anybody scan these? That was a Jimmy John's QR code on one of their tabletops. This one I thought was really interesting because, if you're standing at an open house and you had this is actually for teachers. Teachers did this, But if you created this fun little paper watch and you used it as kind of a label, or, as a little entrance, you get one of these little things when you, maybe use the agent are wearing at your open house. And as you're going around meeting people, it's definitely an icebreaker. Somebody's going to, ask you about it. And you can say, oh, you know what? You want to learn more about me? Just scan my QR code. And it's kind of just a fun way to get that QR code out there.
Is it time to buy?
Is it time to buy?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. Scan your QR code. That's just an example of a business card. So you can see how it's just got the name and basic information and a QR code on it. However, wherever you put it, you want to have that call to action on there. Most of those QR code generators actually give you different frames. So you can change the text at the top or the bottom. So it can say scan me, or scan for properties, scan for open house lists, scan for this, scan for that. So you can put a call to action in the frame. Some of them are shorter than others, but you can absolutely add that in there. And first you add your URL. So if you want to add our landing page link in there, then you can go and choose the next, how you set it up and how you want to. There you go. You can choose the fonts. You can choose the color schemes. Those are called little eyes up in the corner of them. You can change. You can add your logo into the middle of it. If you want to add a logo, change the color, the background. Lots of different unique things that you can do, and you can add frames. So, and you can change what the scan me says. So if you want it to say something like, I think there's probably a character limitation on this, but
right.
You could play around with that. But I really would, I love the fact that it just kind of pushes you a little bit outside the box. And I feel like it's kind of in an area where people are not taking advantage of it as much as they could be. And so this could be the thing that sets you apart from everybody else.
Yeah.
Lisa, cool. Anything else I missed about QR codes?
I don't think so. I mean, we brainstormed a bit on this yesterday, and we got it all kind of concise down into some finer points, which was good. Because don't get us started. But I think this gives everybody like a good jumping off point. And I'm wondering, like, has anybody had any ideas what you're going to do? Do you think you'll embrace this or check it out? Do you think it has, legs in your area? Do you think it's something that would, be something you would embrace? Anybody?
Well, I would. I just want to show something in prep for today. This video that I posted in the Facebook group an hour ago. There's this idea when you do create the code, you probably want to have the core lead capture magnet in mind, where, where you're going to be using the code. So whatever that is for your business, we talk about our growth systems, new construction, starter homes, whatever it might be. I made a quick video on a KV Core landing page here. And then the thing that I wanted to mention was that you might want to go get a vanity URL that's attached to that QR code.
Yes.
Kelly mentioned the dynamic codes, but you can actually just change where you forward your dynamic URL if you don't want to pay for one of those dynamic services. So,
and it looks like Darjan, and I hope I said your name correct, had a question. So Darjan, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You can talk. Do you have a question for us, or do you want to add anything?
You just have to turn on that microphone.
Yeah. Or you can type it in there. But I'm going to go ahead and just unmute anybody. So if anybody has any questions or want to, spitball something, I mean, this is the time to do it. We're available, and, we'd love to get your thoughts. How about you, Lisa? How are you doing?
I don't think Lisa's microphone's on.
Well, I mean, it's always a crapshoot when we try to do this, but
let me see if I can help you out. I'll start unmuting people too.
I think they should all be in. There's a couple of people that have older versions of Zoom that won't allow me to, but I think everyone that does have it, like an up-to-date one, has the ability to speak now if you like. So Miri, Robert, Sukhvinder, David, you guys out there?
They're there. They're watching.
Yeah, they are. That's all right. No pressure. And honest. Yeah. So I guess that's all I really had. I know Robo's saying, hey, the back of business cards for certain. And that's a great first step. And then you can kind of think on how you want to link that information together. Or if you even want to create seasonal things, like if you're posting listings online or Craigslist, you could add that QR code and say, hey, use this QR code to learn the top 5 things to do to prep your house when you're trying to sell it, or the top 3 things to learn to bring with you when you're going to see a lender for the first time. So
that's a great place right there in Craigslist, because you can upload your own photos. And so you could swap out doing a Craigslist using that auto poster. You could update and edit the photos in there and then pop in one of the images with a QR code.
Oh, and Thomas is saying he uses a QR code for his KCM, so Keeping Current Matters, buyer seller guide. So that's a perfect example of how you can diversify getting those materials out to people.
And if you want, you could even put those QR codes on a custom page on KV Core.
Yep.
And so have the link to them from your Google Drive, or maybe just put a link and the QR code that links them to your Google Drive, so they can scan it if they're if they happen to be on your website.
Love it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm really trying to kind of transition over into, going green and being a little bit more interactive. And, anytime that you can add something that, gets them thinking a little bit, piques their interest.
Yeah, and it is, I like the point about not using a lot of paper. So anytime you're sharing even a long contract or something, you could do this.
Oh, for sure. I love the idea of the buyer and seller guide. I have a little document that I use. It's called Ready, Set, Rent. And it's a 2-page checklist of, what you need to do when you're getting to rent a house, because I just, renters need a little bit of extra love too. So I'm going to put that on a QR code and start putting that on postcards that I send out. I think that's going to be that's going to be my first challenge. I'm going to challenge each of you to find one place in your print materials that you're already doing and add a QR code to it, or whatever it is. That's my challenge for the day.
And Darjan, I do see your questions and I'm responding to you right now. That was something separate, so we got that. So Ryan, are you going to do like the palm trees, or what's your plan?
For what? For QR code or for the tattoo?
Hey,
Yeah,
Marissa.
for your QR tattoo.
How's it going? I'm good. How are you?
Hang on, I'm going to turn off a couple people. There we go.
Yeah, no idea. Yeah, I got to think on that for the tattoo, but I'll share with all you guys once it's done.
That's funny.
Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, thank you guys. Lots of great ideas here. I'm sure people watching kind of got the juices flowing in their head. Basically, anywhere that somebody could interact in the physical or digital universe, you can put one of these. Right.
Correct.
Basically, yeah.
Yep. Think of how you're going to take them out of the real world and into your website.
I forgot another one here. Just came on, is t-shirts and hats.
T-shirts, hats.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
And remember, just never have any regrets with it. No regrets.
No
regrets.
Love that.
That's awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Guys.
So tomorrow, we should have something going on, but I'm actually going to be in an airplane. So I'll talk to maybe Annalisa or you, Kelly, or Bianca, or we'll get somebody to cover the session, but we'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I hope you all have a great rest of the day.